well, whichever the reason is, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you start to see a difference with gender roles and gender norms. And like I said, that has everything to do with the history behind the feminist movement in the 1960s during the second wave. A lot of rights, reproductive rights, Roe v. Wade, you know, and you see a lot of Equal Pay Act. There's so many things. I mean, I just recommend everybody going and looking up how much of a difference these waves have contributed to the women's rights.
I do agree that the Equal Pay Act has helped, but we still make 70 cents on the dollar compared to a man.
Yes, it's still not equal. Let's make that very clear. Women are progressing, but it's still an unbalanced society. It's still a very unbalanced society. But slowly, over time, they are progressing.
Very slowly, but...
Yeah, we would like it to pick it up and go faster, but, you know, it's, like I said, men still control not only our society, but the household, you know. So that's why we see our economy the way it is.
In the grand scheme of things, I think we're actually kind of moving pretty fast, if you think about it, because all the women movements have all been in the last 200 years. Look, 200 years ago, in a few thousand years, it was constant, solid. If you're looking back medieval ages, and imperial ages, this is all in the last 200 years. Women have made a humongous jump. If you're looking at the great, I know when we look at lifestyle and life, in our lives, it seems pretty slow, but in the great scheme of things, what's 400 years from now?
That's true.
400 years from now, maybe we would have like 10, maybe a few black women presidents in a few hundred years. We're actually moving extremely fast.
That's a good point to make. I think for people who are now living in this
Coming from the
generation.
60s, you know, it's just...
Oh, yeah.
But
But,
like 40 years
so,
ago.
yeah.
You know?
yeah.
Yes, we have progressed. We have been making that point. We have progressed, but it's still unbalanced, and you know. And I do see what you're saying.
Women have come a long way.
They have.
We just gotta keep on pushing.
They have to keep pushing. Yeah.
But that's just it. If you ask most women out on the streets, a lot of them do not think that sexism exists.
Yes.
Yeah. I've actually come to
And
know
that
that
is
long ago.
what.
It's internalized sexism.
Yep. If you are a woman and if you don't think sexism exists,
You're
then
high.
you are experiencing internalized sexism, because sexism is everywhere.
Yeah, it is, because, like, growing up, it was I have 3 sisters, all of us are girls, and I was always going outside doing all the rough stuff, and I was always like, oh, you're my little boy, basically comparing me to a man.
Genderism.
Yeah, saying, oh, you're acting like a boy, you're my little boy, you know? Instead of just being like, oh, you're a strong woman.
So because you acted like a man, you got male privilege, which is off. Yeah.
But just like the thing you said about just go on an average woman and ask if there's sexism, ask her how much progress have we had. Do you know the progress? Do they even know what progress? Like 200 years ago, how many women wore pants? 200 years ago, there's one that most people don't even think about.
Well, pants didn't even come into style for women until World War II because of the fact that most of them were welders. That's the only reason women were able to wear pants.
Because all the men went out to war.
Yeah.
All the men went out to war, and so the women had to take over the men's job, which is working in the factories and being welders or whatever they were doing. They had to wear pants to do the job. And
that's the only time you'll ever see them, like, cry out for women. That's when they needed women the most. It's like, shit, take over this job. You're capable of doing it now because we don't have any men,
But right when the men came home, they were told, oh, you're no longer needed. You can go back to your kitchens. That's it.
They were obviously doing fine when they were out the war, but when they come back, it's like...
The progress that women made during the World War II situation was that women were able to figure out for themselves that they could be independent. It was that time for them to say, hey, I can actually work in a factory. Oh, I can actually weld. You know, I can be independent. It was actually a good time for women. Yes, when the men came back, the women were basically shoveled off from their jobs, but women were able
Still
to.
put the idea in their head.
It put the idea in their head. It was them to realize that I can do it too. I can establish independence. And that's, so I would look at it as more of a good thing than a bad thing.
So even though we have a long way to go, we have to keep thinking about how far the society as a whole has gone, and think we got to keep it moving, and probably in the next 100 years, maybe even sooner, we will have complete equal rights. We have a hopeful future.
This is a really good thing. It's spreading awareness, I think, very, very much so.
Yeah,
But not a lot of people know. Like,
exactly, and that's what's holding us back, is that people don't know. It's that internalized, unintentional sexism that people don't see. And that's why it would help if people were educated on this. I kind of wish women's studies was a requirement in high school. Something that everyone had to take, because it really opens people's eyes. It's a very enlightening class. You know, it's a very enlightening study. Opens people's eyes a lot, not just for women, not just to women, but to all minority groups, and to see the big picture of what's really going on. And I think that's what people need to start looking.
because really we are on different classes. Like, people can, look at it, like you said, like a black male and a white woman. Like, there's a lot of racists out there, but, a woman is still getting bashed. Like, just because I'm a white woman doesn't mean I'm not going to get bashed. I'm a woman. That's reason enough to bash me.
Yeah.
That's reason enough. And for people to sit there and be like, I don't know what, people go through for being, a minority or whatever. In a sense, kind of, women are a minority. They categorize us into being lower.
There was a affirmative action was put in during the second wave movement in the late 1960s and the early 70s, during the second wave of the women's movement. Affirmative action was put in because of that movement, so that it was to protect the minorities, so that they had equal opportunity to jobs and whatever. I believe now most corporations, most businesses now have to make sure that they do have some women working, some people of color working, and they can't discriminate based on your sexuality or whatever. Affirmative action.
Sexuality, not yet.
Certain places.
No, it is in law.
In law.
Washington now.
In certain places, not everywhere, but certain places. But affirmative action protects all minority groups, and I think a lot of women, especially white women, don't think that they're a minority group, but they are just like anybody else who is a person of color, or someone who's gay, straight, or gay or bisexual, or what else? If you are above the ages 55 or under 21, you're in that ageism bracket, where you're outside the norm. Class, if you are lower poverty, you are outside the norm there. If you're not middle class or upper class, you're outside the norm for class. If you're not a Christian, if you don't have a Christian background, you're outside
It's
the
like
norm.
all these criteria that we have to meet.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, really?
So I think that people need to just be more aware, and that's what's lacking. And I think sexism is a big thing that people don't notice. Even when it's right in front of them. So blatant, like I was talking about with Chris Matthews, bashing on Hillary Clinton. I don't even know if a lot of people even pick that up as sexist.
I know sometimes I use it to my advantage, like at work, if I don't want to feel like doing something, I'll just say I can't do it, it's too heavy or something, and just get one of the boys to do it so that I don't have to. Sometimes I use it
to your advantage.
Yeah, to my advantage, but really it's actually
hurting you. And all women.
Yep, my bad.
So
Thanks, Pastor.
it's all your fault, Cass. It's because you're too lazy to do your job. Just kidding.
So this is pretty much the whole point of our group, is to get the word out.
Yes.
Bring these topics from the muck of society to see.
So.
Yep.
Do you guys have any last questions or anything?
Our few
comments?
our survivors.
I know, it's very
Hey. And I think we're done.
Yeah.